Bitcoin under $50,000, largely being attributed to a proposal by U.S. President Joe Biden to double the capital gains tax for the highest tax bracket. That is said to be reducing the appetite for risk across the markets, and Bitcoin is taking a bit of a nosedive as a result. Will, I'm going to throw this to you. Price movement. What are we to make of it?
Oh, this is the toughest question we ever get on the show. Like, which way is the coin going to go? No, I think it's kind of like a part of this longer leg down we're seeing right now. Generally, like we have these 20% pullbacks, like durable markets, like you go up for a while, just kind of like breathtakingly see the price go up, $10,000 at a time and back by like 20%. And that's not me guessing things. It's just like historically what the Bitcoin price has done since like its inception way back in 2009. So these things have happened before. Definitely there's some connection here with the news from Joe Biden and the proposed tax law that could go into effect maybe in the next year or more. It's still just a proposal this time, so everyone's just kind of spooked. I think there was selling off in traditional markets as well. But across the board, kind of sad news for our Bitcoin apes out there who are trying to get some more coins under their belt. Sad day.
Sounds good. I'm gonna toss this over to Naomi. So, Naomi, do you think this is rational markets acting in response to the news? Do you think there are other factors at play? What's your read on why we're seeing this pretty pronounced sell-off in the Bitcoin market?
I mean, what's the definition of a rational sell-off? Like, markets are a pretty crazy thing. You can see from the price of Doge, like there's nothing rational about any of this. But, it does make sense to me that people are getting spooked by suggestions that we're going to have big hikes in capital gains taxes. It's like the worst tax laws for cryptocurrency, and it doesn't make any sense because people are using this as currency. They're doing forex trading essentially, and it's just, if we're talking about whether or not Bitcoin can be crippled by government regulation, you're kind of getting a hint of it when you start talking about capital gains hikes and then all the prices plummet, right? Obviously, that's not going to kill Bitcoin. It's going to bounce back stronger than ever. We've all expected this market correction because we had such a big booming bull market that's been happening over the last few months. And so I think everyone expected this was going to happen, but now it's happening and everyone's tying it to these capital gains hikes. My hope is that we can figure out this tax situation, right? I want to get these laws changed. I want these lobbying groups that have just started to be put together, these working groups, to start petitioning, lawyers and say, listen, government officials, you started making your regulation about this when you didn't know anything about it. You didn't understand it. You didn't understand how this was being used. Now we're getting an idea of how it is being used. So let's actually make laws that fit it rather than shoehorning it into things that don't make sense. But Will, I see you nodding there. Anything to add?
I was just going to say that the Doge price is down a little bit too. It's down 20% on the day.
Finally, it's happening.
No.
I actually, I went on the CoinDesk 20 and checked that right before the show just to make sure it was not somehow still trending up amidst this kind of sea of red. But I think that,
you're so cynical on some things, Ben. I just don't get it.
Hey, you got to come see me every day just to find out which Ben you're going to get. No, but I think this is a really, like you were saying, this is part of a longer kind of downturn that we've seen. And this is something that we all, again, kind of expected. Like people that have been a part of these bull runs knows there can be kind of massive course corrections quite quickly. And with sort of the skyrocketing up to like above 60K that we saw in just like a few months, this was always going to be the case. But I think it's really important for newcomers to this space to like just kind of say, hi, like this happens too. It is not a only number go up narrative. And welcome, we could be in for a bit of a roller coaster ride here.
Just off the back of what you were saying, Ben, I think there are a lot of newbies who are shocked right now. They were expecting to ride this wave. They've been hearing a lot of these really lavish stories when it comes to Bitcoin, and they may be sitting with their heads in their hands right now. Naomi, what advice would you give to people who are new to Bitcoin, who are experiencing this for the first time?
I would say try to ignore all of the really vocal people on Twitter. You're going to be surrounded by people who are pumping their bags and who are saying like, it's going to the moon, it's only ever going up. They're going to be telling you about all kinds of coins that they're interested in. They're going to be talking about investment strategies. They're going to try and get you involved in their investment strategies. You should try to learn how to filter out this noise and just watch the actual data, see what's actually happening. Because a lot of the time, people are going to be projecting what they want to happen, not what's actually happening. They're going to be telling people things to get more clicks. They're going to be telling people things that are going to get them more viewers on their Twitter account or their YouTube channel or whatever they're marketing, their newsletter for trading tips, whatever they're trying to selling. Just realize a lot of these people have an agenda. But when it comes down to it, just be looking at the actual asset. The agenda of Bitcoin is financial freedom, right? So try and focus more on that narrative rather than all the hype you hear. That would be my advice. But Zach, anything to add there?
Advice.
Yeah, just a quick look at some of the downstream effects too. We saw this. I remember, Will, we covered this last March 2020. I think it was Black Thursday when markets tanked, and we saw this sort of ripple effect in the crypto lending sector, where these margin calls were issued to clients of prominent crypto lenders such as BlockFi, Celsius, and others. I had just a quick flashback to that this morning when Celsius tweeted to its clients that margin calls might be coming because of market conditions. Top up your accounts, don't get wrecked. So that is sort of one of those downstream effects of price movement on the crypto lending side of the house that I thought was kind of interesting to note here. Naomi, do you have any thoughts on that as we sort of watch the repercussions of price go down across industry players for people who are well versed in the space?
Yeah, I just want to say well done to Celsius for letting people know about that. I remember years and years ago, my foray into crypto was actually margin trading. I didn't know what a margin call was until I got margin called and lost all my money. So I think that there are lots of people who get involved with crypto and the same thing happens to them. They put in money. Luckily, I'm not a big risk taker in that regard, so it wasn't a whole lot. But, there may be some people who don't quite understand what a margin call is. They don't understand if they don't have enough collateral in their accounts and you have big market swings, then they could get margin called, meaning that the exchange or the lending facility turns around and says, we don't think you have enough to cover this. We're closing out your position. This happened to a lot of people with Robinhood, and people were like, Robinhood's closing out positions. It's like, well, actually, I think a lot of people just got margin called, actually, and you didn't realize what a margin call was. So it's great that they're spreading the word about that. They're educating people and saying there are certain risks that come along with being able to trade a lot more money than you actually have. So hat tip to them.
Yeah, I'll jump in there really quick before we
tips.
close this segment off. There's been $25 million in liquidations on DeFi this morning as well, which is interesting just to see there's so many different segments to the crypto lending market or the crypto market in general. And there's been a large downturn in the amount of margin calls on DeFi generally over the last year after the biggest one ever happened in February. So I think that, to me, just looking at that data, I think a lot of the DeFi folks are just not willing to kind of put themselves in that risky position as much after some of the margin calls we saw earlier in the winter and the fall. So that's just an interesting data point, but we're moving.
For sure. Interesting to watch it. Interesting to watch the repercussions.